Good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you for being here today, making on this cold day. We're so happy to see you here today. My name is Janet Hyatt, and I am an ESL diversity consultant here at Heartland AEA. And it is my pleasure to introduce our two esteemed guests today. Colleen Anderson, in the red. She is in student assessment at the Iowa Department of Education, and she is also our resident expert on ELPA21. And Dr. Joby Lawrence, who's our Title III consultant. She's also joining us for about 45 minutes today, and then she has to run off to another, I think, a national board meeting of some sort. So we're lucky to have two people here today to share with us. With no further ado, welcome and thank you for being here.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. If you can get into the public portal, go ahead into the Iowa ELPA21 portal. It looks like if you're trying to go the back door through the single sign-on through the Iowa portal. Right now, there's a little problem with that. So some technology glitches. So don't worry about that. Just go in on the other side to the public side. So if you want to do that and follow along with some of the resources, you can there. Otherwise, a lot of the things that I'm going to put on this PowerPoint that I'm going to share with you today, you sent some topics, and we're going to go through those topics that you sent, but I want to show you where the answers are, because there wasn't one thing that you sent that isn't the answer already in the portal. So I want you it's kind of like teaching you how to fish today. So think of it as that. So there's going to be, all the resources are there for you. All the answers are there for you. But at this point, we're all newbies. So we're going to find out where they're at, and you'll learn where they're at. So if you want to just take notes, you can, but I'm also going to send the PowerPoint to you. So you'll be able to just look at the PowerPoint and go through topic by topic. So some of the topics, let's go through some of the topics you sent. And if there's something that you don't see on the list, write it down, and we have some time at the end that we are going to address any issues that you didn't get sent before. So one of the things, the first thing was different roles. You know, what are all those different roles and who has different roles? And then some common acronyms we should all know. So you asked for some of that. What were some important dates? And then the 4 sites, because there are 4 different, actually there's 5 different sites of resources for you. When do you need a roster? Guidelines for practice tests. Some information on the AEA-PD online training. Information on secure browsers. Suggestions for actual test administration once the actual test begins. Accommodations for ELLs with IEPs. Appeals, current work, hopefully completed. I added that on there. So what's being done right now, where you should be in your work right now, some coming resources, some other concerns, and then there's popcorn Q&A sharing, okay? So at that point, we'll add some other concerns and some other issues that you have. So we'll talk about some of those as we go. So let's just ready to dig right in. Okay, so let's take a look at the issues that you brought up. The first one was the different roles. So if you look in the red up there, there are 4 different places where you can find those different roles. They're addressed and they're defined. So on page 3, the test administrator training in Agora. So if you've already gone through your test administrator training, there's a whole thing on there. Click on it. The resource is right there for you, the explanation of the roles. Appendix A in the test coordinator's manual. It's online. It's there for you, right at the site that I just sent you to, the Iowa ELPA21 portal. Page 4 of your TIDE user guide, and in the portal, under any one of the roles, especially if you go into test administrator or test coordinator, in the resources, there's a user guides in there. If you go to user guides, you'll find that in user guides, there's a link to a definition of all the roles. So there's a table in there for you to use as well. So all that's there. So what are they? Well, the test security officer is not listed in there because the test security officer is housed in your district. That's your district's test security officer for the portal. They are the ones who give you and your teachers permission to use the application. So if you tried to get if you've gotten your ANA account, you got it set up, and then you went into edit and you went into define roles. And when you got to define roles, you asked for permission to use the ELPA21 application, and it hasn't given it to you yet. You need to go to your district security officer because it's sitting in their email, and they have to give you permission to do that. And until they give permission, you can't access ELPA21. You can't access any applications on the portal. They are the only ones who are allowed to give you permission. So it's usually a superintendent or a building principal, and they serve as the district security officer. They're the ones that if you aren't getting permission into it, or one of your teachers isn't getting permission, they need to give that permission. So they're probably been so busy they haven't even looked at their emails, or it went to their spam folder, so they might have to check those things. But the district security officer is housed in your district. No, it won't. Mm-hmm. So just click that, yeah. Sure. She said when you ask for the user, it'll just say district test coordinator or test coordinator. That's okay. Just have teachers click on that. And then when they go in and they're actually in Tide, they'll choose their role. Yeah. It'll once you get in, it'll be fun. Okay, at this point, don't worry about it. Okay, the tech coordinator, of course, is whoever is in your district is your tech coordinator, and they're the person who's going to have to download all those secure browsers onto your laptops or your computers that the kids will be using. So that's your tech coordinator. So that's why we provided special training and special information just for the tech coordinators, because there are some things that they're going to have to do. They're the ones who are responsible for downloading applications onto your computers. So they'll do that. The testing coordinator can be district or building. It doesn't make any difference. But that's the person who's actually helping set up the rosters. They're the ones who will add students. They're the ones who will send in the templates to delete students or add students who are moving from building to building or moving from district to district. You can add students who have come in from out of Iowa. You can add those into the system. You get them into your student management system, whatever you're using in your district, and then in the next reporting period, they just get uploaded. So that's not a problem. But you cannot move students from building to building, and you cannot move students from district to district in Iowa, because they have to first be removed from the other district or from the other building. So that has to be done at the state level. So you can't go in and try and add a student who's moved from Johnston into Waukee. It can't be done simply because they have to first be removed from Waukee before they can be added to Johnston. The student can't have duplicate files in SRI.
How about if they come just straight from another country?
Add them. As long as it's from outside of Iowa, you can add them yourself. Then you'll put them in your student management system anyway. If they weren't in your January beds report, they'll be in your spring beds report. So don't worry about the ones coming from outside of Iowa, but there's a template for you to use for the ones who are coming in. You fill in the template. Your test coordinator, if they don't have the template, they can just email me and we'll make sure that they get the template. We can post the template as well. But there is a template that we're asking you to use. We'll get them moved for you. They should have all been moved by last night, but there were a ton of them. And like I said, we couldn't add new ones until we deleted the ones that the same student had to be deleted from somewhere else. So they have to be deleted before they can be added. So it's a laborious process, and it takes a while. And when you're working with 300 and some districts, you know, and they all have some kids who need to be added or deleted, that just takes a while. Could you wait a minute? She had her hand up first. We have a student that is out of the district right now, but will arrive back in some time. Are they enrolled in your district right now? No. Don't add them until they come. If you try to add a student that's coming from state, if you put their state ID and what flag is them or will allow you to manually do that? It should not allow you to if you try to add a student who is coming in from another district, it should flag them and say that you can't add them. So it should do that. So that's pretty much the test coordinator, of course, will also help you build rosters if you need rosters built. And we'll talk about rosters later. But they're the person who needs to be adding and deleting students, not the regular teachers. There's a lot of information in there that they have to include that most districts don't provide to the teachers. So you don't know who's on free and reduced lunch and things like that. So the test coordinator is the one who should be responsible for doing that, whether it's the district or a building person. Then the test administrator is the person who's going to be administering the test. It's usually a teacher. It needs to be somebody who's certified. So it's usually a teacher or somebody who is a proctor that the district has hired to just do tests, that they've gone through the training. All those people have to be certified to administer the test. And that's where the training on the Agora comes. So those people have to get their training done. The other people, we've got webinars and things for them. Okay. So that's different roles. Okay, this one was common acronyms that we should know. So these are some of the things that you asked for. So what's an ANA account? Well, that's authentication and authorization. Okay, and all test coordinators and test administrators need to have an ANA account. Tech coordinators do not have to. Okay, some of them do, but they do not have to have one. But the test coordinators and the test administrators must have them. The test coordinators do because they're the ones who need to be able to add students. They need to go through those lists and figure out who needs to be deleted, who needs to be moved from building to building that's on there right now. They have a lot of work that they do. They also need those so that they can see the score reports. The test administrators need that ANA account because they need the ANA account in order to be able to administer the test. Any part of this assessment that deals with students and student information is on the TIDE. So it's on the ELPA21 TIDE side. To have access to that, you need an ANA account. So to administer the test, you need an ANA account. So if you don't have your teachers in there with ANA accounts yet, you need to get it done fast. Okay. The next one is AIR, and that's our vendor, American Institutes of Research. They're the company that we hired to set up the portals, to manage the assessment. And they'll run everything on that side of the ELPA21. Obviously, ELPA21 is English Language Proficiency Assessment for the 21st century. That's your test. So you need to know it. That's your test. You know what ELP is, although I've had some people who've asked me lately. So English Language Proficiency. The ODFA is the online directions for administration. The paper pencil directions for administration are not finished yet. But since we're not giving that test until March, we're on track. But the online directions for administration are there. They're posted in the portal and they're ready for you to be using. The ORS is the online reporting system. And most of that information is not on there yet because you really don't need it yet. We will use some of that online reporting system in our managing of the students in the test itself, but That'll be up there real soon for you. There's not a whole lot that you have to do. Most of the information is in your directions for administration. TA is your test administrator. TC is your test coordinator. So if you see those somewhere, TIDE is test information and distribution engine. So that's where all the test information lies, including all the student information. And of course, that has to be secure. So that's why it's in the TIDE information system. And the distribution engine, of course, is there. That's how we distribute the test. So all that's TIDE. So when you hear reference to TIDE, we have an ELPA21 TIDE. Now, there are other TIDEs that you get to through the Ed portal, through the Iowa Ed portal. TIER is also has a TIDE. So if you're used to using the TIER system, you know you go into TIDE. Okay, this is a TIDE. When we move to an online summative assessment next year, hopefully, it will have its own TIDE. So each one, a test information and distribution engine, each one has their own. So each assessment's going to have their own. And the TDS is just a test delivery system. So you might see an acronym for that in different places too. And if you come across any others that you don't know what they are, jot them down and we'll get them onto a list for us. Okay, any more? Got that? Like I said, you're going to get this PowerPoint. Okay, now important dates. Important dates are posted right on the Iowa ELPA21.portal at AIRAST.org. Okay, that's your public portal. Okay, and when you click on it, there's a button for important dates. Some of these important dates are on there, some of them aren't. I added a couple like when TIDE went live, you know, and when the test window closes. But all of the other dates are there. So the practice test window, kids can take the practice test anytime from January 21st to April 15th. They can take that practice test as many times as they want. So if you have some kids who really just aren't computer savvy and you know that they're going to need extra help with that test, get them into the practice test multiple times. So it's there, it's available for you to just keep using. Your orders for paper and pencil tests were due January 29th. That's why I kept pushing you to get that done. I think, well, if those orders went in, so that print order went in. The ones that went in January 29th will be shipped by March 1st. If you didn't get it in by then, you just need to call the help desk, and the AIR help desk will order them for you. If they can get them in the March 1st shipping, that's okay. If they can't, it'll probably ship around March 15th, but that's still plenty of time to give the test. Next year, we just know we'll just keep pushing people to get those paper pencil ones ordered. And those are only for students who have an IEP or a 504 plan. You don't order the kindergarten first ones. When the test coordinator cleaned up that student records and identified exactly who's in first grade and who's in kindergarten, your order went in. So you don't order the written brochure. It's just a little written booklet for kindergarten and first grade. You don't have to do that. That's all done for you automatically.
Sorry. On those questions, it also had a question on there about the kindergarten tests and possibly waiting till next year to do the kindergarten. Is that an option for the online?
No.
Or do you want the paper one done for the kindergarten?
There's no.
One of the questions that was on there.
I did not see that question, and it is not an option.
Okay.
No, no. The feds are not going to give us any waivers on anything. So no, it's not an option to not give a test. So you have to give the assessment. So yeah, you don't order the paper pencil ones. They're going to be delivered directly to your buildings. They won't come just to the district and you have to distribute them. They'll go straight to the building. Whoever the test coordinator was, it could be the district test coordinator, but whoever was identified as the test coordinator. but it will come to the building and it will say ELPA21 test. So you should be able to get those. That's not a problem. And like I said, figure them about March 1st. They said they're going to try, they're shooting for February 29th, but it could be as late as, it's shipping. So it could be as late as March 2nd. But that you can go ahead and give part of the kindergarten test ahead of time. You're just going to wait for the writing portion before they can move on. So they wouldn't be able to take the writing or the speaking yet, but they would be able to take the listening and the reading. Another question over here?
So, like, we're waiting for the kindergarten materials. Is there still like a 2-week testing window we have to identify, or?
No, you have until April 15th. That's your window. Right, then you can finish it later. You're going to, like today, if you were going to add a kindergartner today, how long would it be before you would receive them? I don't know. That's a good question. We'll ask. If they're added after this point, we'll see. I don't know for sure. So that's a good question. Yes, you do. Her question was if we designated as a district a test window for 2 weeks and a student comes in afterwards, do we have to test them? Oh, yes. The feds are not going to give you a bye. You set your own test window, that's fine when you want to schedule your test, but you have until April 15th to test these students and nobody gets by on it. Okay, just because you set your window doesn't count. Okay, they got really upset with us before and we're not going through that again. It is Title I money we would lose. Okay? If they come in after April 15th, you can't test them. At 4:30 on April 15th, the test window closes and you cannot test students after that. So 5 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah, so if a new student comes in, you still give them TELPA. You're going to be giving them TELPA until June 30th. After June 30th, you cannot give TELPA.
Then we might turn right around and test them on the ELPA21. If we identify them, does that make sense?
Yes, if they came in April 1st, or they came in, let's say, you had a student who came in today, or March 15th. Okay, and you have 2 weeks to get them placed. So you give them the TELPA, you get them placed, and you're going to have to give them the ELPA.
So just to clarify Karen's question over here, if we have somebody come during the test, like with my this will be coming back at the end of the month after the testing window opens, and I know there's one who's going to be kindergarten. Is the state monitoring when new kindergarten and first graders get input into the system manually and will send us paper pencil, or do we need to communicate to you, hey, we've added a kindergartner?
You need to, if you have a new student who comes in and you need to order a kindergarten writing one, you need to call the AIR help desk because you need to get that ordered and have it brought in. So are we monitoring? We don't monitor new students coming in again until spring. So the state's not collecting that information. You are responsible for it. So if you don't do it, it's coming back on you. So you're responsible for making sure that you get those kids tested. Let's see. We'll work on entering data and everything all the way through April 18th. As the student takes the test, the scorers are scoring. So they'll be scoring. They're hoping that they'll have all that scored by April 18th. So even the latest ones that are tested, they hope that they'll be scored by April 18th. All the data will be entered. Okay, then what we have to do is send that data to crest at UCLA, because then they're going to do our standard setting and our cut scores. And that won't get done till summer. So, I probably should have put in here an important date when you can exit students won't be until August. Because you won't know. We won't know cut scores for the first year until then. So that's a good thing to put down in your notes, that yes, you can't exit students until August. We just won't get through standard setting until then. The new screener won't be available until then because it has to go through cut scores too. So it has to have standard setting and go through. So it's built on the same items, the same blueprint that the test is built on. So the screener that you're going to be using is tightly aligned to your assessment, but it won't be available until August either. Anything else you want to add on this?
She just had a question about.
So August, you're not paying a date because we don't know.
Right.
By the end of August would be next.
Well, we told them it can't be any later than August 23rd when you come back. So it has to be, they're shooting for the August 1st. That's why they want everything scored ahead of time. That's why they want their data entered ahead of time. All the raw scores will be in there. Then all they have to do is to go in and apply the cut scores and identify the level that the student's at. Then those score reports should be available online for you to download.
Yeah, and I was just going to mention, I think you guys already know this, but the reason we couldn't set cut scores initially when we did the field test is we didn't get large enough field test numbers because we couldn't get a double test waiver. So most states, including Iowa, didn't have big enough N size for them to set cut scores. And so statistically, psychometrically, we couldn't do it. So we had to wait for operational. We really wanted to have our cut scores done with field tests, but we couldn't. So that's why we're running late. So we're all at the mercy of what happened with the field test. Every state is in the same boat.
Yeah, probably would have happened that way anyway. Even Smarter Balance that field tested 4 million students set cut scores in the summer. Most of them do. DLM set their cut scores in the summer. So it's generally done in the summer after the testing. First year, but next year, April 28th, or April 18th, you should have all of your scores. Next year. Second year will always, the cut scores will be done. We don't have to do standard setting. It's going to be easy peasy. Okay. So best starting date. This year is really quirky. We set our test window February 15th to April 15th, not noticing that April 15th is President's Day. So it is a federal holiday. AIR is located in Washington, D.C., and they don't work on February 15th. So don't test on February 15th if you know you're going to need the help desk. They've got 70 people ready to go on February 16th to man that help desk. So if you need some hand-holding, if you have some issues that come up, plan on testing no sooner than that. You've got until April 15th. So schedule it as you need to. But I'd strongly suggest if you think that you might need some troubleshooting, don't test on February 15th because I won't be able to help you. As much as I'd like to, that technology piece of it, we can help on the Iowa side, but we can't help on the AIR side. So we didn't realize that. Sorry about that, but next year, who knows when President's Day is? Just figure that President's Day, we don't get help desk. Now, there are more than 4 sites because we also have an Iowa ELPA21 website that if you just go into Iowa, educationiowa.gov, it's there. But most of the things, all your resources are really posted on these sites. So the Iowa Education Portal, that's where you get single sign-on to all Iowa applications. That's how you get into the ELPA21 TIDE. So that's where your teachers have to go in order to first set up their ANA account. So they need to do that there. And then we did that so that it was a single place for them to go. If they're used to going to the tier tide, it's going to be easy for them to learn how to go to the ELPA21 tide. So they'll go in through there. Then that gets them back to the ELPA21 portal. So we've got that portal, and that's where we posted all of our Iowa resources. So that's our portal. That's our website for resources. That's where all your manuals are going to be. That's where all your notifications are going to be. All the updates are going to be. Everything's posted there. So that's your friend. So you really need to get into that one and use it a lot. The Agora website, Agora ELL community, that's where you're going to go for your training. So certification for training is there. And Rob's back there and Joey's here. You want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'll share just a little bit about sort of the philosophy around Agora. We decided we really wanted to try to build a one-stop shop for all of our ELL information in Iowa. And so about a year and a half ago, we started trying to explore using Agora, because what we know was happening is we were trying to push out information statewide, and every AEA has their own website. So it was really getting very confusing. So depending on the AEA and their update status, the information just wasn't flowing very consistently. And sometimes we had mixed messages out there, which we found out during our Title III monitoring visit. The Fed said, hey, you guys got to do a better job. You got to really make sure that the state is messaging this and that you've got some way to have a consistent message out there. So we addressed that by trying to get everybody to sign up on Agora, and then we'll be putting everything in Agora. So we'll be using Agora for all of the training. So anything in the future that has to do with EL, will always sort of go through the entry point of Agora for us. Now, that doesn't mean the websites of the AEAs won't still be in existence. We don't control what AEAs do on their websites. The state still has a website, we'll still post. But we just want you to get used to having a single place to go. So you're not searching like, there's 5 sites, which one will I find this on? We're trying to get everything in one place. So it's really a way to catalog for you, and we're hoping it makes it easier. So what you'll find right now on Agora, if you've been to the community, it's a place where we're not necessarily monitoring the discussions as far as if you post a question and a peer answers it, we're not monitoring that back and forth interaction. But someday we hope to be able to staff something where we could have a more instructor-led conversation. So somebody could be monitoring that chat. But anyway, long story short, it's a place for you guys to network. And it's also a place where you can sort of the entry door into everything else. So when you enter Agora, then you can access the ELP standards, you can access the assessment training, you can access all of the Title III trainings, anything related to lab planning. So everything is there. So you can think of that as sort of the gatekeeper to everything else. And I just want to say a shout out to Rob, because if it weren't for Rob back there and the staff at the AEA PD Online team, we would never have been able to get Agora off the ground or be able to get all of our training put together and housed in a really, what I think is very streamlined and very easy to access fashion. So Rob, do you want to add anything else about?
Think of Agora as Grand Central Station. I know I need to get to Poughkeepsie and I'm not sure the route to take. If I go to Grand Central Station, I can find the train that takes me to Poughkeepsie. Agora is the place where you can always find the link to whatever ELL resource that you need, whether it's the portal, whether it's LAO planning, whether it's the training system for training. If you always go there, you can always find the link.
Yep. And you won't get mugged at Agora. You might at Grand Central Station, but Agora is pretty safe. So anything else? Oh my goodness. Yeah, so should be
Agora, AGORA.
It's on here
Dot-
later too.
.aapdonline.org.
Thanks.
and it's on one of the slides. So when you get the slides, you should be able to just to click on it as a hyperlink or to copy and paste.
Later on, we'll talk a little bit more about the PD itself. So here's just the 2 websites, and I put that on a slide for you. So the Iowa Education Portal, and that's its landing page where you have to go in and sign in, and then that's there for you. So don't worry about it. It's on the slides you're going to get. So navigation of the portal, what will you see when you get in there? There are all kinds of resources in the Iowa ELPA21 portal. Like I said, that is your friendly site. So it's got everything you need. So it has how to set up for multiple users. It has resources. So some are public and some are through the tide. If it's If you come into the public side and the button is grayed out, then you know that you have to go in through the Iowa ELPA21 and sign on there, so that it's, because there's student information in that piece of it. So anything that's, keep in mind, anything that has student information involved, access has to be through TIDE. So access is going to have to come through the Iowa portal. So, but the things that you can find on there that are public are all the manuals are public. So you can go in and print those off, just access them there. Every time we find something that might be an error in it, it gets fixed and it's updated there. So just use the ones that are online. User guides are there, practice test administration, how to do it. You know, how to actually administer the practice tests, tips on how to do the practice test are in there under practice test administration. Access to TIDE, access to the operational test administration, access to your reporting system, you can get in through there. It will be grayed unless you've come in through the Iowa portal. If you come in through the Iowa portal, it won't be, but if you come in the other way to the public side, the online record system will be grayed out. Data entry interface, that will be grayed out too, and that will come up as a new button that you'll be seeing pretty soon. Any recent announcements are there, they're pretty public. Links, the secure browser list is there, you know, which browsers, how to download. Directions on how to download the secure browser are there under Tech Coordinator. Tech Coordinators have their own site on there, so they click on that. There's all kinds of information just for your tech coordinators. How to contact people. You know, it's just the help desk for AIR. Practice tests. You get into the practice tests through there, so you can go in, and they are public, so parents can go into them too. Important dates. How to order headsets. If you want to order headsets through AIR, they're offering that. You can order headsets from anywhere. And if you got a deal with Best Buy, go with Best Buy. If you got it Amazon, go with Amazon. Whoever you can get your deal from. But they are offering to, if you want to order from them, they offer to multiple states. So you can get headsets from them. Link to our portal. Parent brochures. So far we have one in English and one in Spanish there. Download it, share it with the parents. It's Iowanized. So there are two there right now. We'll try and put up more parent information later, but.
We have a question from the Zoom community. They're wondering where these slides will be officially posted. Will it be on the Agora site or through another source?
These slides?
Yes.
I don't know. We can do it any way that is convenient for them. I can just send them to Kathy and she can send them on.
Okay.
Or we can post them on a Google Doc site and send the link.
And then if you send them to me, I can send them out to everybody who's registered. Send them out. Yeah. And there's an attendance sheet going around. If you could make sure to sign that.
So we can just
add your name if you're aren't on the attendance sheet.
Send it to our.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to send parent brochures out. What we're trying to do is provide you resources if you need them or if you want them. So, and they're in Word, so you can actually take them and, I think I left them in Word. No, they're in PDF. You'd have to convert them back to Word if you needed to make any changes in it. Okay. So here's kind of an idea of all the manuals that are in there so far. So there are a lot of resources for you in there. So they've all been posted. There's the TIDE user guide, the TIDE quick guide. So that's kind of one you can print out, sit at your desk, and it kind of helps you refresh your memory and different things. The user roles chart, practice test quick guide, test coordinators manual, system requirements doc. That's just like, what do I have to have for my system? That's for tech coordinators. Secure browser installation manual, step by step, how to download the secure browser. Technical specifications manual is in there. Online directions for administration. Other resources or recent announcements, of course, linked to the other things that I said, like link to the practice test, important dates, how to order the headsets, contact information, secure browser information. There's all kinds of stuff in there for you. So just use that site a lot. So here's another one. This one was rosters. So when do I need a roster? Well, there's 3 places you can go to get information. The TIDE webinar, FAQs. If you attended the webinar, it's in the webinar recording as well, and that's already posted. But there's also an FAQ that came out of questions from the chat on the webinar, and that's posted. Page 31 through 37 of the TIDE user guide. Page 16 through 23 of the online directions for administration manual. That's all, it's all there. So you can find those things there. What do you need a roster for? Just to be able to sort kids into manageable groups. If you're like Des Moines and you've got over 6,000 students, ELLs, you've got to sort them into manageable groups. Okay, even at a building, when you've got multiple teachers, you need to sort them into manageable groups. If you're a district and you only have 25 students in your entire district, you probably don't need a roster. It's already in a manageable group. You know, but if you want to sort them by building, you can sort them by building. They're going to come, the reports are going to come to you by building anyway. So if you have multiple teachers, you might want to sort them by teachers. How you set up your rosters and how you organize your rosters is your decision. Do you want to organize it by teacher? Do you want to organize it by building? Do you want to organize it by class? How you want to do it is your decision. But rosters are there for you to be able to manage groups of students. And the reports will come back by roster. So if you want to set them up by teacher, and all of that teachers, and that teacher has 10 classes, but they want one roster just by that teacher, they can do that. You know, you set it up. There's a template in there for you that you can just put all the rosters together in one template and upload them all at one time. So that's an easy way to do it, especially if you're having some difficulty with them. But you can manage your rosters. Des Moines is going to just upload, I think they're uploading an elementary, a middle school, and a high school roster. It'll cover all their buildings. So you can upload them however you need to do it. And you can go in there and build a roster student by student if you want to. Pull them off and put them on there. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it is for you to manage your groups of students. If you don't need a roster, don't worry about it. You know, if you don't have that many students and you think your group is manageable as it is, don't build a roster. You're fine with it.
So on this screen right here, I'm prompted to select a role, and I have the option of selecting teaching coordinator or test administrator. Does it matter which one of those I choose? Do they have equal rights and equal possibilities?
The tech coordinator or the test coordinator has more rights than the test administrator. But if you're going to go in and build rosters, do test administrator.
Okay.
It's easier to build a roster using test administrator.
Okay. So just maybe I should ignore building coordinator as a role and just only function under test administrator?
Until you want to see score reports. Then if you have to see multiple buildings,
I do.
then you're going to want to go in as the test coordinator.
Building coordinator.
If you want to go in and build rosters, go in as test administrator. Because test administrators can build rosters easily. And if you go in as test administrator, it captures you and puts you under that teacher pull-down menu.
Coordinator, they're not able to administer a test?
No, a test coordinator can administer a test. A test coordinator can do everything that a test administrator can do, plus they can see multiple rosters, multiple buildings, multiple score reports. The test administrator can only see their own score report. So the roster that's built for that test administrator is the only one that they can see. You don't really want that teacher to go look at some other teacher's students' test scores. So we set it up so if you're a test administrator, you can go in and build your rosters for yourself. You can build multiple rosters, but you can't see any others than your own. And you need to get all your test administrators in there and into the TIDE system, because it does not put them, it doesn't populate them in that teacher pull down menu for building rosters until they've actually been in the system. So if you don't see a teacher, but they told you that they were into TIDE, they weren't. Okay, they have to go into the ELPA21 TIDE, choose test administrator, and it doesn't make any difference. They don't have to do anything else in there, but it will automatically capture them and populate them in your district's pull down teacher menu. But they don't end up in there until then. Okay, if you've got another question on rosters, save it and we'll put it at the end. So this was guidelines for practice tests. And there are lots of different places that you get information on practice tests. Okay, under practice tests on the Iowa ELPA21 portal. See practice test administration under the test administrator and test coordinator roles. So if you go in under test administrator or test coordinator, you'll see a button that says practice test administration. That's how to give the practice test. Okay. To actually link into the practice test, there's a button right on the front page of the portal. See the test delivery system there, and then there's practice test quick guide. So just step-by-step quick guide to the practice test. And then on the online directions for administration, practice tests step-by-step are page 7 through 18.
We've been not able to get the practice test to work. When you click on to add the grade level, it doesn't go to the next step for you to put in the section ID. And I've tried, I've had several teachers try. I don't know if anybody's had any success.
We've given the practice test because they want to start next week. So
Okay.
I'll tell you that we have success.
Yeah, I've not, that's the first time I've heard anybody having any difficulty with getting into the practice tests. If you have difficulty getting into the practice tests, that's on the AIR side. So just send them a help desk. Just shoot a message to their help desk and they should take care of that. There shouldn't be any problems. Have you set up your rosters before you did that? And then you couldn't get in with the session? Okay, just link under the help desk and write that down. We'll ask them again today and see if there's a bug in there or something. Yeah, that's everyone else I know has done that. I have not heard of anybody having trouble doing that. So this is the first I'm hearing of that. Anytime you have an issue like that, you need to go straight to the help desk. They will fix it for you. They're fast. They're, like I said, there's 70 guys there working on it. Or people, 70 people working on that. So you shouldn't have any trouble with that. But this is the first that I've heard that there was any issue at all. So if you let us know, we can try and fix things, but always try that as an approach first, because they'll fix it right away. Okay, like I said, this is where you're going to see the practice test. So over here, right on the front page, there's a little buttons for practice tests, and that's how you go in. And then for each one of the, if you go in as test administrator, there's practice test administration. You can go in and click on that, and it'll get you right where you need to go to learn more about how to administer them. But like I said, all of the manuals have it too. Now, One question that somebody asked, is it possible to pull up a practice test and go through 1 or 2 items in each domain and then just keep going and submit and click out? Yeah, you can do that. You know, you can just do 1 or 2 items in that subtest and then go to the end and click, and it's going to give you a little attention message that says, you're leaving the current segment. Are you sure you want to do this? You'll not be able to change any answers once you leave this segment. And they're going to see that when they take the regular test too, because they can skip items in the regular test and then go back to them. They can also omit items in the regular test. At the end, if they've skipped items, and it'll give them a little message, you know, these are the items that you skipped. Do you want to go back to them? And if they don't, they just submit the subtest. And they've actually omitted the items. So the difference between skipping and omitting is skipping, I want to go back to them. You know, I don't know the answer right now. I want to think about it a little more, but I'll go on to the next answer and work through the test, and I'll come back to it. They can do that. Omitting the items means I'm just not going to do it. You know, so what we're asking is, even for students with significant cognitive disabilities, because we don't have an alternate, that they can omit items, but we ask you to at least attempt 3 items with them. So they need to have the opportunity to try at least 3 times. Some of these kids will amaze you that they can do things. But even on the speaking part of it, with the recording, even if it's 3 items of nothing but white noise that gets recorded because the student can't communicate, you know, then you have to submit 3 items. So at least attempt 3 items with them. 3.
Because I have nonverbal autistics.
I know. So you'll give them 3 items,
3 items,
then move them to the end of the test and submit them.
Okay.
Submit that subject. You know they're going to get probably a 0 on that anyway.
Is that 3 items per subtest? Is that what you
Yes.
said?
3 items per subtest. And the guidance on that was sent out Monday? I think so.
For this particular question, the person was they felt strongly about going through all the items in the practice test, but they were wondering if you could go through 1 or 2 items just to show us what they look like. But maybe that's not necessary depending on.
Yeah, I don't have it set up on my
Okay.
computer right now to do that.
Yeah.
But we could, yeah. Although, if you just click on practice test, you'll get in it easily. Go in as guest. You know, you can go and pick a grade level. You do have to pick a grade level. I did find that out. I can't just keep clicking all the way through as guest. You have to pick a grade level, whatever grade level you want, and go in and look. But yeah, it's pretty easy to do. And you can look at a couple items in each one of the subtests, go to the end, go to the next one. The thing about the practice tests is there are different types of items in that practice test. So to just do one of them, you're not really, or a couple of them that are in there, you're not going to really get the flavor of the practice test or what the test is about. Because the purpose of the practice test was to allow students to experience the different types of items that are in ELPA21. And it's not just a straight multiple choice test. There are different things in there for them to experience. There's some technology enhanced items. There's a variety of different types of items for them to experience. And you want them to have some experience with those before they take the actual test. And the reason for that is when we did the field test, we found out that the kids who actually took the practice test, because we did have them available for field testing, the ones who did that actually scored tremendously better than the kids who didn't take the practice test. So if you have kids who you know are going to struggle, get them into the practice test. At least they will feel comfortable in the testing environment. And it will make a difference. They may not be able to have the English language proficiency to score as high as you'd like, but at least they'll be comfortable in the environment.
May we assist when we're doing the practice test with kindergartners to move to the next screen? May we assist and point to the next arrow?
Yes, you can give them, you can help them especially in the practice, do it in the practice test. Give them as much assistance as possible. So make sure they know where to go to, where next is, you know, all of the little nuances with each item. Make sure that they're able to do that. You can give them as much assistance as you want in the practice test. Once you get into the real test, you can't. Well, you can tell them where the arrows are. Yeah, you can do things like that, but you can't, you know, you can't assist with anything else. So you have to be real careful with what you assist with on the real test. With the practice test is practice. Marion?
So to do the practice test, if you go in from the ELPA21 portal, do you have to have your browser working?
Actually, the practice test works better if you're going in through the secure browser than if you aren't, but you can do it and not have a secure browser even downloaded yet.
In the directions for administration, there are testing directions of things we're supposed to say at the beginning of each subtest, for example. And it wasn't clear to me, is that, are we supposed to do that during the practice test or during the actual test? And I guess if they get to the end of the subtest, they could go on, but we need to tell them stop because I need to read directions to you.
There are some things on the real test that you will do at the very beginning to set kids up. But their directions for each subtest and for their items is through their headset. So the computer is doing that. There are a lot of things you do not have to do. So that's why there's, in the directions for administration, there's two sections. There's directions for administering the practice test and the script for that. And then there's directions for the test itself. So you need to be careful there. You're not going to, you have to be very careful with what you say. And you don't have to worry about a lot of their directions for the test itself. It's already coming through their headset. If there's
These pages that say and then a script.
look and see if it says practice test or regular test. There are different sections in there. Go through the manual, and there's one section in that manual that says practice test on the pages. The other one says test, operational test. Right.
That would be for the actual test.
Yes.
But you're saying some of these scripts might be what they're hearing in their headset. We would not have to verbally say them.
If it's a script there, you're probably going to say it. Especially with the practice test, because you want to give them a lot of guidance.
Right. So click on the sound button to hear the sound. If you hear the sound, click yes. We need to say that and have the students listening to us.
At the very beginning, yes.
On the practice?
No, on the operational test, you won't be doing that.
On the operational test, you will not be doing this?
At the very beginning of the test, when you get, the kids have to do a sound test. They have to do a sound test and a mic test. Okay, there are some script for you to do, setting them up into the test. So setting them up into the online test, there are some script that you're going to be giving orally as the test administrator. Once they get in for the directions for for the items, it's on their headset. If you are going to use their one-to-one computer and not use a computer lab to do this, you're going to have to download the secure browser to each one of their computers. That's why your tech coordinator has to help with that.
It just takes about 2 seconds.
No, she's talking about, okay, so it's on the one-to-one that goes home with the student.
Oh, it goes home.
So do we keep the computers at school?
You're going to have to during the testing situation because they can't take the test at home.
And so we have to take them to everybody in the students don't have computers for a couple of
Right.
They'd have to have that ticket number anyway to take the test, so.
They can't get into the test without the test session ticket. So they wouldn't even be able to do it at home. So if you think about it from that point of view, they have to have the test session ticket number to be able to access it. They go into the browser, they click on the test, and then they have to enter the session number that you give them. The session number changes each time you leave. So as a test administrator, you get a new number each time. So if they take their computer home, that's fine. They can't take the test at home. Bye.
Colleen, there's a question from the Zoom community. Can we offer interpretation to students for directions of how to use the buttons and navigate during the practice test?
Can you give students, can you interpret? Sure. You can provide interpretation for them on how to use any of that. And actually, one of the designated features for all students is that they can have an interpreter providing directions to the test. So you can do that. So you can provide directions to the test using an interpreter during the practice test or the operational test. Just click it as they're going, that's a designated feature that you're going to be providing for that individual student. So if you have someone who can give them directions in their native language, and if you do need that, we'll give you the script for it, for the native. I've got 11 different languages. So if you need a script in Arabic or Cantonese or Somali, we can do that for you. I think Vietnamese, Spanish, of course. Yeah, contact me. I'm trying to get them posted on the portal, but I don't have permission yet to get the directions posted yet. And like I said, I have them in 11 different languages. Okay, and Joby, of course, had to leave to go to our national board meeting right at the time for the AEA online training. But is Rob still here? No, he stepped out too. Okay, wouldn't you know it? Rob, you want to come up here?
I'm not real sure about that, but okay.
Okay, there are two kinds of training in there. This is in Agora.
No, this is in the training system. If you can't remember how to get to the training system, you can always go to Agora because it's Grand Central Station and their link will take you to where you need to go. Okay? So this is I can't find it. So this is training. Most everybody has an account already in this system because this is where you did your mandatory child abuse and dependent adult reporting. So if your teachers go to log in, and you now have to log in with email. If your district has changed your email system, so for example, you used to be nevada.k12.us and now you're nevadaschools.org. If that's changed, they need to log in with their old email because it's the email that they used when they created their account. So that's the first clue because we have somebody who's actually created 5 accounts in the course of an hour. So you don't want to do that. It makes Shelly grumpy. So the other thing that I would tell you is you need to be connected to your school district. So you need to go into your profile and make sure that you have logged in and said, yep, I teach at this district. It's going to ask you for a passcode. It's going to give you the name of the person if you don't know what that passcode is. But you want to be connected to that because then it won't charge you. So in fact, I was just looking at the data yesterday and there's 30 people who've paid for it because they didn't bother to mark their district. So that's across the state. So make sure that you let your people know that. There are 2 trainings. One is labeled for tech coordinators, and it's for tech coordinators. The other one is
ELPA21 test administration. It's for the people who administer the tests, correct. There are 2 modules that are required for people to take. And because we knew if people have to find 2 different modules, they're going to take one and not the other, and they're going to get confused. Did I do both? And then the school district's going to have to do it. We can actually, like Flow and Progressive, we can bundle. And so we have bundled those 2 modules that they need to take in the test administrator labeled test administrator. Okay. Questions?
I'm just on the Tide site, and we're looking at managing users. And so anybody that I'm having administer the test or go through this training should show up as a user at some point on the Tide.
And they should take this training.
Should they show up on my list after they've taken the training?
On the Tide site, you're actually putting in who can do that. What you're going to have to do is double check, did they actually do this training? These 2 systems are not talking to each other.
Has actually clicked on the link in the Tide site. Right. Once they've had access approved, they won't show up there until they actually, from their account, go and click on the Tide link.
Okay, so they have to click on the Tide link.
They don't have to do anything. They just have to click that button.
The two systems don't talk to each other. So they don't. So to find out who's actually gone through the certification, they're going to get a certificate. They need to share it with you. So they can make a copy of that certificate and share that certificate with you. Then you know who's actually completed their certification. And the next slide, I think it shows how many teachers so far in the state have actually completed, and we're over 600. So teachers who've actually done the certification, they've gone there and taken they passed the test. They're doing great. They can share that with you. Then you can compare whether or not you have. That will help the building principal and the superintendent sign their assurances that the people have been trained, and that they have to turn into the Department of Ed that people have been trained. They sign an assurance document.
Parent educators that will be in the room, not necessarily administering the test, but helping with kids. Do they also have to do the training?
That's your decision.
Okay.
But if they have an ANA account, they should be doing this training.
They should. You probably want them
In the room, they don't have an AA account. They don't necessarily have to do the training.
The only people who have to do the training are the test administrators. So the people who are administering the test. If you have a para who's in there helping students, you might want them to take the training too. That would be to your benefit. We're not requiring that they take that because a lot of them aren't there to help administer the test. The person who is responsible is the test administrator.
You might want to have them do that just so that they know what and what they can't help with. Because they may not understand that in the para role just being in the room.
Good point.
Other questions? Another function is on the back end of the system, your district administrator for the training system can also go in and look up any training and get a list of the people who did it. So if you're not sure, you can also go in and see that. So that's why some districts have started using this for like their bloodborne pathogens, 103B, and those types of things, because they can quickly go in, pull up a list, see who's done it, who's not done it. We actually now have features in this where like district staff handbooks, when you need to mark off who's gotten it, who's not done that, we actually can now have the ability to build that in the system so that you can keep track of it on the back end rather than having all these people turn in these slips of paper and somebody's going through folders. And yes, so we've actually now have in this system, you can actually go in now on the training system, on the AAPD online training system, you can actually go in. If you have administrative functions, you can actually find a list and print a district report. You can actually pull down for this training, and it will give you the list of who did it and what date they did it, when they completed. So that's what I sent you yesterday, that list to Jessica.
Yeah.
Yep. it's under, if you just look for, if you're on Agora, you're going to look under ELPA21. There's a section for standards training, and there's for ELPA21 test administration. And the link to the training system will be there. It's under hosted. No. It's self-paced. If you just click on catalog and search the word ELPA21, there will only be two things that pop up. One is the trainer, tech coordinator, and one is the test administrator. Other questions? Okay. I can help you locate that. Okay.
Okay. We are working on another one that will probably be more for IEP teams and 504 plan teams, just on the accessibility and accommodations manual. So we are working on building a little module that will help with that. But that one is coming. And we thought since the manual was already there and online, we weren't going to worry about it as much this year, but we will have that for you shortly. And Jessica's already working on that one, so that will be there. Then eventually there will be a fourth training that will be on there, which will be the training for the screener. So once the screener is all ready to go, then that will be there too. But don't look for that one until probably July.
When I'm doing the actual test, I'll have some students in my class who will be taking the 6, 8, and some will take the 9. Not gonna be a problem. I can still do the test session as long as they're all in my roster.
Yes, as long as the kids are in your roster. It identifies for them which tests. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that they are on the right test that they're choosing. That's where we'll talk later about appeals. You know, if they start the wrong test, you have to back out of that test and put them in the right one. So those things do happen once in a while. We know that. So, but before they start the test, make sure they're on the right one. So you can have kids from taking multiple grade band tests in the same room. Okay, also with this one, this is one question was how do test coordinators know? And Rob just helped us understand how you know and I did not know that. So I thought only course instructors can access, so that has to change on there. So actually a district person can come in and
whoever in your district has administrative access can basically pull up any module in the system and print off a list of who's done it. It'll actually even break it out by year. So when people need to update this yearly, there's a way that you can see who did it before, but who hasn't done it now, those types of things. And we're working on a button so that if you want the paper certificates, right now an admin can print off an individual certificate. But if you want the paper certificates, we're looking to do a batch print off of certificates as well if people are looking at it. Hopefully coming soon. Right now, I will tell you one thing. If you take the training today, it's going to pop up and it's going to say you're going to get charged $65. Do not panic. Say okay and go on. You're not going to get charged. That will disappear Monday with the system upgrade.
so we won't need to push out periodic lists either. If you can go in as a district and just pull your own list down, we won't worry about that. If you're desperate and you can't figure out how to do it, ask Joby, and Joby can pull them down easily.
Or you can contact me at AAPD online.
Or Rob, yes. And like I said, as of yesterday, Rob sent me the numbers, and we have 600 he sent me all the teachers too. We have 656 teachers who have completed the training already. We have another 150 who have begun. It says 151. but one of them is me, and I haven't finished the training. So, and I'm not a teacher. So we have about 150 teachers who have begun but have not completed the training. So that's pretty good. I'm impressed. I was afraid he'd send me this list and there'd be like 10. So this was wonderful news. So we're moving right along. Okay, we had a lot of questions about secure browsers that have come up recently. And I know if you have a tech coordinator who's not used to doing online testing and has not had to be engaged in that at all, that even the idea of what is a secure browser is something that they're not sure of. So make sure that they get in there to the technology coordinators things. They can go back through the recorded training for them. If they want to, there's the FAQs for them that are in there, and step-by-step installation manual on how to download that secure browser. If the Iowa Department of Ed's IT people could do it in less than 5 minutes, anybody can do it. I shouldn't say that. They're really good people, but they don't have to deal with my stuff either. So they put the browser on my computer in no time at all. I was just amazed how fast it was. It doesn't take very long to get it on there, and they're really good at putting them on. Your tech coordinators will do a great job with this. But you do want it on every computer for the students that are using it, or they can't do the test. So, because they have to go in through the secure browser. Now, there were some issues that have come up that the AIR sent to us. So, ensure the account logged onto the computer has proper administrator access to install the program. Like, I can't do it at the Department of Ed because I'm not a tech administrator. So just make sure that it's the tech coordinator who's doing it. Not everybody can download anything to any computer. Make sure your antivirus software is temporarily turned off. If the problem persists, write down the error message, take a screenshot of the error, and contact AIR's help desk, and they will help them walk through it.
The more information that you can give, so saying, here's what kind of computer I was using, here's what system I was running, here's the time of day when it happened, all that information will help them solve your problem quicker.
And you can use just about any computer for this. Chromebooks work, not as well as others, but Chromebooks work. iPads work. You can use an iPad for this. If you use an iPad or anything similar to that, you're going to need an external keyboard. The keyboard that's on the iPad that is right on the screen takes up too much of the screen space, and the kids can't see the item. So they need an external keyboard for that. So if you are using iPads in your district to administer the test, you're also going to need a keyboard, an external keyboard for them. So that's something to keep in mind is when you're deciding which computers you're going to put the browsers on and which ones you're going to have the kids work on. And of course they need headsets. I tried recording with the earbuds that came with my, actually I used the earbuds that came with my cell phone, and it worked. So if you absolutely don't have a headset, or you've got like some kids, yes,
please work.
Those work. Or you've got some kids who, and I know a lot of our ELL, especially the boys, don't like their hair messed. So they can use earbuds. If they don't want to use a headset and mess up their hair, they can use earbuds. So they do work. And they can record multiple times. So if they're not getting the sound they want the first time, they can go back and record over. So it works. Yes, they can listen to, once they've recorded on the speaking part, they record, and then there's a button for them to listen to what they record. And if they don't like it, they can re-record, and this year there are unlimited re-recordings. Next year, the consortium's saying they're going to limit it to, they can only record, I think it's 3 or 5 times. But right now it's unlimited. They can record as many times as they want to get exactly what they want on there. If you're doing the speaking in a group, you're probably going to want to you're going to somehow want to provide that student with a space that they're not getting a lot of background noise from other students who are trying to do it at the same time. Most headsets are pretty good about blocking background noise, but not, and earbuds aren't real good at that either. But you know, if it's going to be, if you think it's going to be an issue, provide them with a little private space to be able to do their speaking part of the test. Kids can work through the test at their own pace if they need to. So as long as they finish one section, they can go into the next section. But they have to do the subtest in order. So when we did the field test, one of the things that we found was sometimes there was a lot of background noise. The scores will tune out most of the background noise. But the problem is it's distracting for the child who's trying to do the test. And there were some of them that I really think that kid was sitting in the middle of a lunchroom trying to take that test. Because you could hear kids running around the room, you could hear them laughing and talking, and this poor child is trying to give an answer to a test in a speaking portion, and there was so much background noise. We didn't have any trouble scoring the student's test, but the background noise had to be distracting for that child. So you need to be courteous for the kids and just make sure that they have an environment, a testing environment, that is conducive to being able to do the best that they can. These are high-stake tests for these kids. These are higher stake tests for these kids than their IO assessments. The only thing that they have to do on their IO assessments is get proficient, and that's a low bar. On this one, they have to score at the highest score in order to be able to exit from the program. These are extremely high-stake tests for these kids. So you need to make sure that they have an environment that they can take the test in and to do the best job that they can.
I know we always think the timeline for the test. So do you have any recommendations on like what is the best practice to break it into two, to give breaks, like two?
Is there any, actually, you know, the first year we probably won't know. We'll just do it at the best we can. You probably want to do one subtest at a time. It's an untimed test though. So if you've got a student who's taking the test and it's taking them longer than other students and they don't finish it, that subtest, when you close the session and they exit that session, it saves everything that they've done. They can't go back to any item that they've already answered. They can go back to the items they skipped, but they cannot go back to the items that they've already answered and change an answer. But it will save it for them. So if you have a student who's taking them twice as long to do the reading test than other students, that's fine. You just know that you need to schedule extra for that student. In the administration guidelines, you're going to be able to go in and monitor and see how far along that student's done. So how many items have they actually finished on that reading test at the end of your session? You can look and see, so you'll be able to schedule. You know, if you need to schedule extra time for a student to do it, schedule it. It is an untimed test. It's high stakes. We want them to do the best they can. It is untimed. They can skip items. They can't go back and change a test item after they've closed the session. If they go to the restroom in the middle of the session, which they can do that, you know, if they need to get up and go to the restroom and come back, if they're gone for more than 20 minutes, it times them out. So they're out, you're going to have to do a whole new session for them with a whole new number.
Do all students that are in the room at the same time have to be taking the same session? I know that they go
No.
in order.
The question is, do all students in the room have to be taking the same test session? No. The test session gets them in, okay, and it starts them where they left off. So you might have one student on the reading portion, another student who's on the speaking portion. You know, it can be done.
Can you close out your test session in the middle of a subtest? Like you don't have to wait until the end of the subtest.
No, the session can close in the middle of a subtest. And then they come back and pick up in the middle of that subtest.
Right.
So there are some students, especially students that you know who have some behavior problems, they may not be able to do more than 5 items in a session. You know, that might be the best you're going to get from them at that session. So you know you're going to have to just work through that.
Okay, and then your example about the person who got up to use the restroom and got timed out. If you have a full lab of kids working on the first ID, the test ID that they entered in, and then you have your one timed out kid, and you have to give them a new test ID and log them in, will that affect the other kids that are
No, it won't.
under a first ID test?
No, you just, as a test administrator, you'll just have to go back in and open up a new session for that student. But it can be just one student in the session. You're just going to give that ID to that one kid.
I mean, it comes down to doing what's practical. I know I could not sit at a computer for an hour and take a test without a break. So if you think you're, going to do that, I also know that if I was doing this for the first time as a test administrator, I wouldn't want 20 kids all trying to do this at the same time. So even though that might be, I can test a 1-to-20 ratio, that might not be the smart thing for me to do. Might be better for me to start off with a couple kids, see that it's working and seeing what all it's taking so I can get a handle on the time and still get everybody tested in that test window. So I'm learning how to do this as well. And so I don't want to try and learn this on 20 kids simultaneously. I probably 2 to 5 might be easier to manage to start with.
My question is, so if you have a student that takes frequent breaks, needs to get out of the test, every time we restart the test, we need to put a ticket. To enter a code to start the test again. Is that correct?
I mean, if he needs frequent breaks, just don't have his breaks more than 20 minutes. Yeah, after 20 minutes, then he's kicked out. So, but he can take right. Then you need a new ticket. But if the student just needs to get up, walk around the room for a little bit, and come back, you're fine. They're fine to do that.
On the practice test, if you push pause, it goes you completely out. On the real test, what's the purpose of the pause?
The pause is so they can go to the restroom if they need to, or whatever they need. Won't kick them out unless they've been out for 20 minutes. And things happen. Tornado drills, tornadoes, all of a sudden all the kids have to be out of the room, things happen. So, if you're gone for 20 minutes, you just know you have to start a new session. This is Iowa. Oops. Okay. This is the accommodations manual, and there was a question as to the distinction between them. And this is a good thing to learn because if we move to Smarter Balance, they have the most accommodations of any test that's ever been developed on Smarter Balance. Accessibility features and accommodations. What we tried to replicate with the ELPA21 was to put in as many accommodations and accessibility features that we possibly could with the money that we had. We didn't have near as much money as Smarter Balance had, but we're able to get a lot. So there are different levels. There are universal features that any student can have. You do not have to have an IEP. You don't have to have a 504 plan. They're just automatically in there and they're defaulted. So if you don't want them to have that feature, that would be something, but they're all defaults. So those are the things that are in there. So they can increase the sound. They can eliminate answers. They can go through and say, okay, I know this one, it's this one, this one, or this one. The student can do that themselves. Those are things that the accessibility features that students can do. They can have they have audio support, digital notepad, expandable passages, flag for review. They can flag the items because they want to come back to skip it. They have a highlighter they can use, keyboard navigation tools, writing tools. They can zoom an item, make it bigger if they want. If they need a larger screen, They can do that. Then for non-embedded, any student can have scratch paper. If you provide them with scratch paper and they have scratch paper during the test, you need to pick it up at the end of the test and destroy it. Okay, so at the end of that test session, you need to pick up the scratch paper, not the end of their entire 4 subtests, but at the end of each session, pick up the scratch paper and destroy it. So those are universal to any student. They can do that. Designated features are ones the teacher turns on. So there's a list in there with each student, and you can choose if they need that designated feature. You wouldn't give them a designated feature unless they're used to using it in instruction. And you know that having this student have this feature makes it a fairer test for that student because that's the way instruction's provided for that student. Not all students will get the designated features, just the ones that you know need it. So these are things like answer masking, and all of these are defined right in the manual. So if you're not really sure what that means, go to the Accessibilities and Accommodations Manual, and it tells you exactly what it means. You know, color contrast, general masking. Some kids need a blue background, or they need something. So colors can be done. You can change colors. But not all, it would be distracting for some students. So only the students that you know it's part of their instruction are going to get those things.
So Colleen, there's nothing on that designated features that I should do just for ELPA21. It should be something that they get every day, every class type of thing. It's not just, oh, we'll do it for this test. No, that's not what this is at all.
No, you never want to do that. If the student's not used to using that feature in instruction regularly in their classroom instruction, you do not want to do that now. That would be an unfair testing situation for that student. Instead of increasing the fairness, you'd be decreasing the fairness for that student. So you do not want to add a feature just because it sounds cool.
So designated features are really to level the playing field, not give advantage.
Right. Or not distract.
Yeah.
You know, in this case, it could definitely distract. So look through those carefully if there's some things. There are non-embedded ones too. The embedded ones are ones that are already built into the computer and you'll code them into the computer. The non-embedded ones that as a teacher you are able to give outside of the system. So things like a color overlay if it's a student doing a paper pencil test. You know, you can do that. Magnification device if they need it, if they're doing paper pencil. So, but native language translation of directions can be done. So if you have a student, especially a level 1 or 2 student that needs native language translations, then you would provide that if you have that capability.
If you're doing that in the classroom already regularly.
Right. If you're already doing it in the classroom, you want to do that. Noise buffers, that might be fair for just about any student. The paper and pencil test itself, that can be done. The only students in Iowa who will be taking paper pencil test for sure, that without an IEP or a 504 plan are our Amish students because they do not use technology at all. Paper pencil needs to really be, yes, even though it's on this is a designated feature in Iowa, we're not offering that. It's a much more expensive test unless your district wants to pay for it all. We can do that, but you need to get an IEP for that student, yes, or 504 plan. Yeah, you'll need to have that in her IEP that she can't do an online test. She needs paper pencil. Mm-hmm.
And then order the paper pencil.
Because during the regular instruction, if we're doing something in the computer lab, we're doing something paper pencil tasks or in regular instruction. Yes. So that's where that's a new thing. That's not a new thing just because it's an online test. whatever computer function we're doing with her instruction, we do an alternate activity with.
Okay, but other things that are in there, like the read alouds and student read alouds. Students, if you have a student who needs to read things out loud, find them as a quiet place to be able to do that so they're not distracting it from other students. So, but they can do that. And that, we're back on? Okay. And then accommodations, of course, are available there too. But the accommodations are only available for students with IEPs or 504 plans. That's the difference between accommodation and an accessibility feature. Accessibility features are for students who don't have IEPs or 504 plans. But to level the playing field, you need that. But accommodations, it needs to be in their IEP. Like I said, for an Iowa student, to do paper and pencil, it needs to be in their IEP or 504 plan. There are some portions of the test that a student might need a part read aloud by an adult. But go into the accessibility and accommodations manual and it will define everything for you. For the most part, it does, yes. Does it say who is, her question is, does it say who it would be appropriate for? And it usually does. You know, for students who need, it'll explain.
Below grade level, which for them is probably a language thing, but also, I mean, I'm just wondering.
Well, if it's you're measuring their language ability. Okay, so if they are reading significantly below grade level because of a language, that's what the test is measuring. So don't give them the support that they don't need.
So the
that would change this, skewer the test.
I guess I'm curious because in their classroom that might be an accommodation or something that they receive on a regular basis in the classroom is having grade level materials read aloud to them. But what about like Iowa assessments? Yeah, it can be read aloud. That two newcomers, right? Yeah.
You cannot read aloud the reading portion of the test.
So the question to always answer is this something that I do for the student in the regular classroom on a regular basis?
Right, but you cannot read the passages for them.
There's a written part on writing subtext.
Yeah, you could do that. If you're not measuring their reading ability, then you could do this. If you are measuring their reading ability, then no. That would just not be appropriate.
The listening and the speaking portions of the test, though, are entirely audio to the students. So you don't need to read any portion of those tests to them.
Right. So a lot of it it's going to be read to them anyway. So you don't really need that. A lot of times they're going to listen to dialogue between two students, and then they may need to read the test item itself independently, and that might be one point, Marianne, that you might have to read it on the writing portion of the test. But it
says in the manual that listening and speaking are all components
are audio, yes.
So I assumed that meant item choices, everything.
Right.
That was my assumption.
And it is, if you go in on the practice test, it's all read for them. So it's all audio.
So would you suggest for a student if they're guessing versus omitting, would you rather if they don't know the answer, would you rather them do the next test or would you rather omit?
Oh, I'd rather have a kid guess. You know, a lot of times they're hesitant. They kind of know the answer, but they're hesitant. Rather than having them admit it, I'd have them, do your best, guess. Try eliminating the ones you don't know, you sure aren't, and then it's a 50-50 chance usually. But that The guide is right there on the portal for you. Okay, the ordering paper and pencil tests for students with an IEP or 504 plan. Like I said, the order had to go in on January 29th. So that's for the first printing. Now, that's if you need additional ones, if you didn't get your printing order in, if you didn't, if you have some new kids who come in and you need printing for somebody, you just call the AIR help desk and they will order it and get it shipped for you. They have a subcontractor who does the printing. So it's being printed through MI, the same company that's doing the scoring for us. So they're printing and they'll send them out to us. They're going to automatically create overage based on your order. So if you needed 5 or if you needed, well, they're going to do a 15% overage. So you may get a couple extra paper pencil tests than what you ordered in the bundle that shipped to your school. For the first year in particular, they're just going to make sure that there's some overage because they know that some people just didn't get a test ordered. But that can be done. But like I said, just if you need them now and you didn't get them ordered, it's nothing, don't sweat, just call the help desk. They'll take care of it. And like I said, it may still end up in the first printing, or you may have enough for the first printing. And it may be that all you have to do is they'll just send you a barcode because there's enough in the overage that they're already sending you. So another question that came up was suggestions for actual test administration once the actual test begins. The online directions for administration on page 19 through 38 have some suggestions in there. There are answers in the FAQs about testing that are on the portal. And then Appendix B of the Test Coordinator's Manual has some suggestions there too. Until we actually get into it, I don't know how to answer those because it could be anywhere as far as a question, suggestions to do. There's ELPA21 tips for managing headset kits. We put that together for you. We did that for the field tests too. So doing headsets and kits and making sure that you've got wipes so that they can be wiped between testing, you know, that you've got some wipes to clean them. So when you deliver those to a teacher and they've got the headsets ready to go, make sure that the headsets work. And then just to review your directions for administration manual as a team, sit down and walk through it. And if you'll probably come up with some questions or some ideas that you can work with together.
And all those documents are on the ELPA21 portal page. All those documents are also embedded in the test administration training as well.
Yes. So all the documents, all the manuals that are there are also in the training. Okay, once we get going into the test itself, sometimes there are appeals. Okay, so this is, for example, the example that we had before where a student started the wrong test. You know, that happens. So then you just need to put in an appeal. And there's a place right on there for you to click and to put in an appeal. The appeals do have to go through the State Department. That's the kind of the tricky part. So we will monitor that constantly during the test. So sometimes you have to invalidate a test, especially if a kid was cheating, but that doesn't happen very often, but sometimes that does. You know, we know that does, so be careful. Sometimes to reopen a test or restart a test, but most of the time you don't need, that's not an appeal. That's just you're going to start a new session for that student. Once they're in the secure browser, they're blocked from any other browser. They can't use a different browser. So they're not going into another browser. So you don't need to worry about that. If you're a test administrator, you're going to be walking around the room. You don't sit at your desk when you administer a test. You shouldn't, at least. You should be walking around to make sure that if they need help, they get help. The screens don't have to be there. From your computer, you can monitor what item they're on and where they're at and how quickly they're moving through. So you're going to be able to do that in just the management system itself. So that's not going to be a problem for you to know where they're at. So if you've got somebody who's just sitting there and they're not doing anything, you'll know. I'm not sure if you can do it on the practice test. You can check and see. I don't know. That's a good question. We can ask, can you monitor on the practice test, or is it only on the operational test? Yes, right. So that's a good question. Let me ask AIR today. And I don't know if it says that in the directions for administration, under practice test or not. But we can check that. At the very end, we'll also be able to provide explanations for student non-participation events, like they moved to Mexico in the middle of the test. They exited the district. They have to have actually left the district for you not to be responsible, though. So if they're out of your district, you need to be able to do that. But there are things like that come up, and we know that. So there will be some place for you to indicate why the student didn't participate in the test. Like I said, if it's a student with significant learning disabilities, remember, give them at least 3 chances on every subtest. And we'll talk about some of that. So here's kind of where we're at. There's a checklist in the test coordinator's manual. Have you found it? The end of the test coordinator's manual, there's a checklist of stuff for you to walk through and make sure that you've done these things. So make sure that you've looked at the test coordinator's manual and gone through your checklist. And then know that the test administrator module is open at the training site, so you need to really get in and get your TA certified. So if they haven't been, remind them that they need to get in there and get that done. Make sure that your tech coordinator has got your secure browsers downloaded. You can download them now, and even if you're not going to start testing until March, you can get them downloaded, have them there for you. The kids can't do anything in the system. They can click on it. It won't do anything for them until the test session opens. And you give them the password, but they can do that. They can take their practice tests through there. Make sure that all your headsets are working. It goes live on Monday. We're not going to start till Tuesday, but goes live on Monday. Closes on 5 o'clock, April 15th. After that, no tests. So you have to make sure all your kids are tested by then. If they didn't finish because they left, you didn't start testing until April 1st and they left the district April 7th, and you can't get the kids back into testing, that's a non-participant. So you just have to live with it. Try and get them in as soon as possible so that you have plenty of time, especially those that you figure are going to probably leave and go somewhere. I can't now because it's there. You don't have any kids participating, so I can't go in and do that. But it'll be in the online reporting system, and that button will be grayed out for a little bit until that's ready.
And you need to be a test coordinator.
No, just a test administrator
Can
access
Okay.
that to look at their own roster.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What constitutes non-participation, and then what are those constitutes?
Well, according to our federal citation, participation for ELLs is 100%. It's not like the Iowa assessment that we get 95%. Yeah, we don't get that nice little window here. How that's going to work under ESSA, we're not 100% sure yet. They haven't given us that guidance. They're still writing it. So right now we're still having to work under the old rules, which is 100%. So do we know that we will probably have less than 100% because some things happen. Kids have accidents, kids get sick, kids move, and if they moved, we can justify that they've left the district, so we don't have to worry about that. But if they got sick, if there was an accident, something like that happens, we know we do. Trust me, Joby and I just plead our case. So, don't worry about it. We'll take care of that. Do the best you can to make sure 100% are, and if that doesn't happen, we just plead it with the feds. So far, they haven't done much more than made us make sure that every teacher is certified to administer the test. Gone in, and like last year, we had to go back and retest kids. So we had to test kids over the summer.
So if you have a student who doesn't complete testing, the good rule is always document, document, document.
Yeah, give us plenty of documentation so that we can take that and plead our case. So under ESSA, hopefully we'll have a little more leeway, but we don't know yet. I think, like I said, the paper test window begins like really March 14th. You'll get those paper tests for your kids. They should be delivered around March 1st. If you have a student who's taking a paper test because of an IEP or a 504 plan, you can actually begin that earlier. The Amish children are not going to start testing until March 15th. So, and that's just because I can't train their test administrators until then. So it'll begin then. The directions for administration should be coming out the first part of March for the paper test window. Braille testing begins at the same time. Braille actually comes as a set. They get a kit, and they'll work through the whole kit. We only have 3 students in the whole, three ELLs in the state who need Braille. So we've already ordered theirs for them. They'll get their kits, and they can start the first part of March too. But we just have 3, and I don't think there are any in Heartland. Because they have to actually also be able to read Braille. We have some little kids who don't read Braille yet. So that number will go up probably, but right now there are only 3 for this year. Yep.
If we notice something is not right in our data about a student and then correct it in our system, will that get pulled in automatically, or we need to manually submit that?
Manually submit that. So if you have something that you know is not right in your system because it was coded wrong or something in yours, the only way we can get that changed is to manually submit it. Yeah, there won't be another automatic upload into the ELPA21. We had to use the October report because the January BEDS report isn't certified till almost the end of February. So we couldn't use that report for our test window. So we had to use the October report. So we know that there's some information that's probably incorrect. So David Kennedy is working with SRI, or with our SRI team to really clean all that up. So we're trying to get all that done as soon as possible. And he thought he was going to have most of them done before he went home yesterday. But there was a lot that he had to do. So hopefully it's done. But if you do, there's a template and we can just submit it and David will fix it. There are some things we've had some issues where people said that a student was exited in May. They are still showing up on our list. What are we supposed to do about them? Well, they're still in your student management system as an ELL. First thing you have to do is clean up your student management system, because the upload that whoever did the upload from your student management system to the state system doesn't make those corrections for you. You need to get in there and clean up your student management. If you've still got the student marked as an ELL, they're still going to be an ELL, and you have to test them. So if they should have been exited and for some reason there was a reason that it was a glitch in your system or something, you need to talk to SRI, which is Margaret Hanson at the Department of Ed, and she might be able to fix that for you. If she can't, because she can't prove that the student really was to be exited, she has to have proof to be able to do that. And if she can't, then the student has to take the test because they're still identified as an ELL. So we've had several of those that have come across our desk recently.
So we had a new ad since October that's K1. Are there extra tests that will come? Does it come in packets the way that the special ed ones do? Or do we need to call and make sure that there's enough people come to test for K1 students if they were?
If you've got a student who came since October and they're a K1 student and you didn't go in and clean them up before January 29th, call the help desk at AIR and tell them that you've got another kindergartner. Get them added into the system. Use the ads to get them in there. If they came from outside of Iowa, you can add them yourself, like I said. If they came from somewhere else in Iowa, then David Kennedy will have to add them because he has to delete them from the other school. Okay, we have about 4 minutes left. Okay, coming resources and manuals. Okay, these are some of the manuals that are still being, and materials that are still being done that we're trying to get finished and sent to you. Students and parents communication materials. We're putting in a little bit, like I said, we've got a Spanish and an English brochure in there, but that's about all that's in there so far. There's some letters we could produce for you, whatever you need. But there are some things that you can use right now. The parents can click on practice tests and go into the practice tests too. The test administrator user guide, I haven't received it yet. I have to review it. I have to edit it. I have to get it back to them to make the changes. And then it gets posted. But I don't have it yet, and it's Thursday. So it was supposed to have been given to me last week. And they said, oh, you'll have it. We'll be done with it. It'll be ready last week. It didn't. It's Thursday of this week. I still don't have it. Sent 4 emails. Still don't have it. We'll see what happens. It's just a little user guide that goes along with it. The directions for administration are what you really need, but this is just kind of another user guide that helps out. The participation reports quick guide. Danny at AIR is working on that.
Actually, it went live.
It went, oh, that
Yes.
one went live.
Yep.
Okay, good. So if that one, I didn't look last night, so if that one went live, that's good. Participation reports quick guide. I'd already worked on a lot of that, so that should be done. Braille requirements manual, they're working on that. Paper pencil directions for administration. Probably won't have that all done until March 1st. Translation scripts for interpreters. I have them. I don't have them posted. So if you need one, send it to me and I will just email you the direct. I'll give them to you in an email. But I've got them on my computer, but I can't get them posted. AR has to post it. I don't have posting capabilities on their website. So they will do that for us. But if you need those, that can be done. Other concerns that came up, we do need an ELPA21 alternate assessment. We know we do. There was no money in the budget to do that at this time. So what we did was ensure that the kids could just attempt 3 items and move on. Other states are saying that the kids have to do every single item, and that's the way they wanted it set up. AIR set it up for us so that the kids can omit some, and then if they attempt at least 3, And even if they can't answer 3, but you've given them 3 to answer, and they can't do that, go to the end and submit the test. So you just submit that subtest. And do that for each subtest. Give them at least three opportunities to answer. If they can answer more than 3, go for it, because we want to get the best score we can from them. But if they can't, if they've missed 3 in a row and you know that there's nothing they're going to be able to do, then just submit. Who must be tested? If they're identified as an ELL, they get tested. Online reporting system is not quite ready for prime time yet, but it will be. And a lot of that stuff in the online reporting system, some of it won't be ready until after standard setting, because the information around cut scores and how to do some of those things, how to interpret some of those scores, won't be available until we know what those scores are. And then standard setting, of course, is this summer. And if anybody wants to volunteer, I'll be recruiting here soon. So you'll go probably to California to do standard setting. They'll pay all your expenses, but they will work you to death. But you'll work hard. You'll learn a lot. Your expenses will be paid. You'll probably be on the UCLA campus, which is a beautiful campus. But it will be lots of work. But we will be recruiting, and if you'd really like to learn how to do that and really like to be involved in getting those cut scores in place, that would be great. The screener will be coming out soon. It's, like I said, it's built on the same blueprints as the test. So it's a perfectly aligned screener. You're going to love it. It's an online screener. It's going to be a whole lot faster to give, a lot easier to give than the TELPA, but that'll be coming soon. Online directions in 10 languages. So we'll have 10 languages. I think there's 11, but at least 10. We're doing a bridging study between IELDA and ELPA21. That can't happen until the scores are in. So that will be next fall. So we'll have the bridging study then.
What's the purpose of that?
It's to be able to show growth, and that's really all it is it's for our state report for growth, to show how students grew from last year to this year. So we'll be able to do that bridging study. So you won't get a growth score at the beginning when we send out district scores until after we have a bridging study done in place. Okay, those are your help desks. That's right in there.
Where's the sign-in sheet?
And then those are right on the portal too. So if you go contacts, takes you right there, or to the Iowa Department of Ed, it'll take you to that one too.
When you log into your AMA account and you see ELPA21 out there, when you click on that, should that take you to the AIR site, or should that take you to the Iowa Department of Ed's internal portal for
When you click on that, it should take you to our ELPA21 portal. And then the difference is when you're on it and you haven't come through that route, some of the things like Tide will be grayed out. So you won't be able to go into Tide. Or you shouldn't be able to go into Tide without having already signed in on the Iowa Department of Ed site. So, and then the online reporting system will be grayed out. So if you go, because the one way you can get in and it's public, the other way you're coming in, which will give you access to student records. Okay, we didn't have, and I know we've kept you 5 minutes longer than we promised. So if you have any other questions, can they send them to you, Janet?
Yes, we have it.
And then you can just forward them on?
And then I will then send them to you, Colleen, is that right? Me, who probably knows, you probably know more than I do at this point. There's a help desk and also the AR. Yeah, I can take the questions and then relay them to Colleen and then get them back.
Any questions about how to get an A&A account, how to get into the portal to begin with, go to the Department of Ed's help desk. If it's any questions that have to do about the test, the practice test, once you're in the system, into TIDE, any questions about that, go straight to AIR and they will answer them. They're really fast. So you'll get a much probably more accurate one than me, because I'll probably say, I'm not sure. We'll have to ask AIR. Yeah. You're welcome. Have a great day.